the White House is the ball's very firmly in their court. And a week later, this is the official White House response. So what are we to make of that, you guys?
Well, Candace, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. They think you're crazy. Now, guys, we got to check in with the right-wing YouTube star Candace Owens, who you'll remember we talked about recently because she alleged a grand conspiracy meant to kill her or assassinate her involving the French government, the Macrons, Emmanuel Macron and his wife, I don't know, Brigitte Macron, who Candace claims is a trans woman. I have no idea. I don't care really. And anyway, Candace alleged this international conspiracy to assassinate her from the Macrons and reported it. We talked about it and the various reasons that it's implausible, to say the least. They were actively suing her at the same time and presumably want their day in court. And also her series about exposing Brigitte, if you believe it, is already out there and would only get more popular in the event of Candace's death. So for heads of state to take the enormous risk of attempting to have someone assassinated, a U.S. citizen, all to what? Kill them and then the series blows up more. It never made sense at face value, but Candace ran with it. She made international headlines about it, but she is not happy about the way that it is received. And she also seems to think that the response or lack thereof somehow proves her right, but I'm not sure I buy that. Let's look at this first clip from Candace's big episode she dropped after her week off where she went into hiding or whatever, which she broadcasts from home, so I'm not sure why she had to do that, but whatever. Here's what she had to say, suggesting that the Macrons' lack of a statement denying it means they are guilty. Let's listen.
Now, if you are, in fact, currently at this moment, the first man of France, that would be Brigitte Macron.
I'm sorry. She is funny. You love or hate Candace. If you, like me, think she's a Looney Tune at this point, she is funny. And this image is diabolical. The just casually referring to Brigitte as the first man is humorous. But I do not endorse these claims. I cannot verify Brigitte's genitals, and I don't really care to.
And you are currently suing a podcaster in America named Candace Owens for defamation, for telling the truth, right? And the story that you are trying to sell to the public is that you were really deep down in your heart, you really believe that you are a woman and Candace is just crazy and desperate for clicks and willing to defame you for money. And Candace Owens publicly proclaiming and accusing you of something directly implicated in her assassination, a claim which has gone viral. When I say viral, I mean just the tweet alone had over 100,000 retweets and 45 million impressions on X alone, okay? This would be your unique opportunity as the French first man to prove your case about Candace to the public, right? In the court of public opinion. This would be your time to slam dunk. Remember, the French couple has been so psychotically obsessed with trying to paint me as conflicted in my reporting that they even hired a private investigator to try to see if I was colluding with other state actors. You know, they.
All right. I already have a couple of questions, but one of which is, why would they sue you if they were also just planning to have you killed? Why would they spend all this money having a private investigator look into you if they were just going to have you killed? See how she adds these pieces to the puzzle, thinking they advance her narrative, but then doesn't think about them critically. And so even when they're actually undercutting her narrative, she just moves along. She just keeps it moving. And that's true about this whole non-statement from Emmanuel Macron or first man or first lady Brigitte Macron. Let's keep listening here.
You know, they kind of gloriously insinuated that I might be working with Russia. They paid for that. They paid for that investigation. So using that logic, wouldn't this be the opportunity, if you're the French couple, to come out and to prove your point, to make a stunning and a swift statement, right? We are shocked by the accusation. Of course, never in a million years. Oh, we told you guys, this is just for clicks. It's for money. This is beyond anything we've ever heard. I hope Candace gets well soon. That would be what I would say you should do if I'm advising you from a PR standpoint, right? In American basketball terms, this is like a flagrant foul, and you now get some free throws, right? If you're the French couple. You're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, investigative fees, and PR fees in a country on the other side of the Atlantic trying.
Again, they're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and private investigator fees, but also pay to have you killed. Wouldn't that be very wasteful and not make sense if we're indulging this theory? But I don't think that thought crossed Candace's mind.
Trying desperately to paint me as a lunatic, and I give you the opportunity to spike the ball to prove that I'm a lunatic, and you don't do it? No, they didn't do it, did they? If you're paying attention, they did not do it. It's now been a full week since I made that announcement. And here is the official response issued by the Élysée Palace. Nothing. Nothing.
Candace, she really is so entertaining, and she does have a flair for the dramatic. So I think she could actually be, a neutral force, like a neutral chaotic force, if she just stuck to celebrity gossip or entertainment news rather than geopolitics and convincing everybody that every conspiracy theory ever is actually true, and just sowing immense distrust and discord in U.S. Politics and institutions beyond what is warranted, which is certainly some degree. But the problem here is twofold. One is that Candace is not thinking about the fact that the Macrons are in active litigation against Candace, and yet she's shocked that they're not making public statements about her. That is what lawyers typically advise in the middle of a court case, is that you not publicly speak about the person you're in court with, because a statement you make could be used against you, or something could be twisted. It's like, that is pretty standard legal advice. So there is a very innocuous explanation for why they would not put out a statement. Also, them putting out a statement would call more attention to it. I do agree that it did go viral. It already was getting a lot of attention, but that would also cause even more attention to be paid towards these outlandish allegations. And it would almost kind of legitimize them in a way. But even if you don't accept that part of it, there is a good reason they would stay silent. That's because they're in active litigation. And Candace has clearly chosen to ignore that advice and keep talking about them. And I can understand why she would do that, but she has to know that I'm sure her lawyers advised her, probably would be best if you didn't talk about Brigitte while we're litigating this. And she says, sorry, but I have to. I feel it's my duty as a journalist or truth teller or whatever. And I can respect that. But don't act like it's crazy that people would not actively talk about somebody they're in a lawsuit with. That's standard practice, actually. And two, the thing about this is, you can't make an outlandish claim, like a wild, outlandish international conspiracy, based on just an anonymous source told you so, and not offer any proof, and then just use the lack of a denial as confirmation somehow. You're going to need more than that for your extraordinary claims. You're actually going to need some extraordinary evidence. And also, the funniest part about this is, if, and she's literally done this in the past, if they had put out a statement denouncing her and denying the allegations, Candace would have said that was the proof that she was onto something. She would have gone the whole "a hit dog hollers" route and said, oh, the whole French government put out this long press release just about me, Candace Owens, the podcaster. They seem really concerned, really defensive. It's almost like I'm over the target. That's exactly how she would have spun it. So either way, she set herself up with this unfalsifiable narrative and this perspective where instead of seeking the truth, she's just seeking confirmation for the things that she maybe earnestly believes are true, but I don't think are. And in this case, she mentioned a bunch of times, oh, people think I'm making it up in this full video, which I did watch. When I don't just play clips of her, I watch the full episodes, even though they're very hard to follow if you're not schizophrenic or postpartum psychotic. They, at one point, she claimed that Britain didn't have a monarch during the Revolutionary War. Like, she doesn't believe that they did. I guess Candace Owens is a King George III truther, which I didn't know was a thing. But okay. Anyway, she goes on these long rants, and so at one point she did mention that in the podcast, and she kept telling people think I'm making it up. I wouldn't make this up. I don't think she's making it up. I think a hoaxster or a crazy person sent her this tip that she's the subject of this plot and that it's not true, but that she did receive the tip and fell for it. I don't think she's just inventing this all out of whole cloth. She seems too much like a true believer to me for that. And that would just be a very reckless thing to do in the middle of an active defamation lawsuit. Do something with actual malice for sure. Now, Candace was not just going off about the Macrons and the first man of France. Or first lady, depending on your perspective there. She was also targeting the US government and the Trump administration and suggesting that they seem to not care about this bombshell she's presented them with. And that could only possibly be because they're in on it or something, not because they think she's crazy or have investigated this extensively and none of it is real. Anyway, let's watch her speak about the Trump administration and the various branches of the federal government she contacted about this. Let's listen.
The White House is the ball's very firmly in their court. And a week later, this is the official White House response. So what are we to make of that, you guys?
Well, Candace, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. They think you're crazy. Even Trump, who loves him a conspiracy theory, who loves all sorts of crazy people, thinks you're frickin' nuts. And they appreciate your support in the past and are concerned about you, so they don't want to go out of their way to release statements debunking you or shitting on you, but they don't want to say anything that will encourage you, and they think you're insane and just want to stay far away from you. That is the most logical way. You could also interpret it as some proof of some grand international conspiracy, but again, the Occam's razor here, the most likely explanation is just that even Trump thinks you're nuts. But go off, Queen.
Now, in terms of formal replies that we received from government structures, the only department that we did hear back, well, first let me say, I did not at all hear back from the FBI on the American side. I did hear back from the counterterrorism unit. I did hear back from the White House confirming that that message had been delivered on Trump's desk, me saying that I had the information. I guess he didn't want to inquire further, which is interesting. But the FBI left me on red. And I will say I didn't go through an official channel and send an email, and I should do that. But I did send a text message to somebody very high up who received the text message. No response.
Let's unpack that for a second, guys. So you're a subject of an assassination plot, and rather than file an official report or complaint with the FBI, you texted somebody that works there. Now, I'm going to guess that it was maybe Dan Bongino, who I think Candace had a relationship with in the past, or maybe Kash Patel. So it might even have been the FBI director or the deputy FBI director, high-ranking FBI officials. But when a crime is occurring or has occurred against you, you don't text people personally on their cells, right? Like you inform the police. You make an official police report or complaint or FBI complaint or report. And the fact that she didn't even do that and instead chose to text these people is suspicious, especially because filing a false official report with the FBI is a crime, but simply texting someone something made up to their personal cell phone or whatever is not. So maybe she's trying to cover herself there. I don't know. But it is not making me take your wild theories more seriously that you decided to text Dan Bongino or Kash Patel or someone about this rather than actually formally contact the FBI with all your proof and receipts that you totally trusted and vetted but just didn't show us. Yeah, this is not how you do that. And I would love to see that text because I'm just got to be honest. I imagine it would very closely resemble the text that some people get from like their schizophrenic family member. I'm sorry. No tea, no shade. I hope she gets help, but all right, let's listen to the rest of this.
Now, I thought that the claim of the French Foreign Legion being involved in Charlie's assassination, I thought the FBI might be interested. No phone calls even from Utah's FBI branch have.
Well, it's almost like they've extensively investigated the entire shooting and they know there were no French legionnaires involved. So you telling them there were isn't like, oh, guys, well, Candace told us. I don't know. It becomes hard to even follow her. Like I did listen to this full episode and it is so incoherent a a storyline. She starts rambling about buildings in Delaware and who owns them and how some are owned by French people and Egyptian people. Like, remember, guys, this is one of the biggest podcasters in the world and in America. She is not a crazy person fringe on the internet. Not great.
Branch have come into me either. Wouldn't you want to see? Aren't we supposed to be investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination? It was totally not a state operation. And
oh, that's the other thing. She keeps accusing the Trump administration basically directly. Like she said, it's a military op. And she keeps saying they murdered him. And then she's like, but why don't they want to text me back? Maybe because you accuse them of murdering their friend. Like, I'm not sure I'd be returning your calls either, Candace, if you were spreading insane lies about me that led to mass harassment and millions of people believing that I'm a murderer. Just me, though.
And they really want to get to the truth, which explains why nobody called. No, Utah, not interested. I'm actually surprised Tyler Robinson's lawyer hasn't reached out to me. What's going on here? Oh, we've got to protect the patsy, right? We've got to protect the patsy in this situation.
That last part is kind of funny because, of course, the suspect who allegedly killed Charlie Kirk and is facing prosecution for it, his lawyer, they have pleaded not guilty, which good luck with that. I mean, there's DNA evidence and very extensive documentary evidence and other things. But yeah, why haven't they contacted me? Because I don't think that you would be helpful to their case unless they were going for maybe not guilty by way of insanity. Maybe then they could use your expertise, Candace. I don't know, guys. What do you think of one of the biggest podcasters in the world? To me, it is apparent that she is not coping well, but that's just my take. And I think it will continue to spiral. But as long as she continues to get millions of views on her very frequent, heavily sponsored laden episodes, I think the incentive structures are there for her to keep doing this and to frankly take it even further. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, yada, yada, yada. And that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will talk again real soon.